I attend right now, Northeastern Illinois University's grad program, but that's a plug from me. I'm sorry, but coordinator, and he's the coordinator of political and justice studies. Okay, did I say that right? Livingston, PhD, Director of University Honors Program, Coordinator of Political and Justice Studies. Changes how students learn critical thinking, empathy, and a higher order of thinking found in complex interdependence. It is also proposed that as a result of these approaches, students become more engaged and active learners and are more likely to graduate. This will entail a combination of presentation and interactive exercises. And with that, Dr. Vincent.
Thank you. Now that Rosario introduced me, let me introduce him. He actually was a student at Governor State University. I tried to hook him into the University Honors Program. He was in it for a very short while, but the reason he was in it only for a very short while is he ran through this school. I mean, he finished his program in record time, and he's now at Northeastern going for his master's degree. It's a pleasure to see you. And also in Truth in London, let me, before I make my comments, and we'll do some exercises, before I make my comments, let me say a little about my background. There's not a biography in there on me because I responded to the call for an abstract very early on before they added the section on biography. I do have a history. My history is one of a very broad education. I'm from a tradition that for schools that thought that the broader trained you were, the better off you were. And you'll see how that influences the way I think about things. I'm also a political scientist, and my graduate work, my doctorate, is from the University of Chicago. And the University of Chicago was political warfare. Literally, there were all different ideas floating about, and it was that free exchange of ideas, both from the left and the right and everything else, that generated the nature of discourse at the university. So with that disclosure, the purpose of this presentation is to go beyond what I think is the way we normally frame the problems of diversity and retention. And I think the way we frame the discussion of retention and diversity is very much from a 19th century perspective. And what I mean by that, if you look back at one of the first proponents of public education, Horace Mann. Horace Mann was a strong advocate for public education at a time when our country didn't have public education. And he argued there were two main reasons we should educate our people. One was we were entering the industrial age. We were just beginning to industrialize as a country. And Horace Mann argued we need to train people who could read manuals and who could operate machinery and so on. That is to say, Horace Mann argued, there's a body of knowledge that we need to give to people so that they can become active working citizens. Two, Horace Mann argued, we were a nation of immigrants. And as a nation of immigrants, we were coming from many different cultures. We had to educate people, Horace Mann argued. We had to enculturate people to become Americans. And that's why, to this day, what's the first thing you do in grammar school? Every day. You pledge allegiance, you sing Star Spangled Banner, My Country, whatever song it is that they sing. I forget, I have a terrible voice on it, and things like that. And I think this created a sensibility which still lasts today. That is, we deal with an immigrant population, we deal with the issues of diversity in a very limited and subject content-driven manner. Come to the classroom, and we will give you the information you need to get a job, and we will enculturate you. We will create the conditions for a viable democracy in American society. And I think we need to do those things, but we need to go beyond. And when you think of immigrants as simply as what we can give to you, that here's the content that you need in order to become a successful citizen, we're missing the advantage. That's the challenge. We're missing the opportunity of having a diverse student body. So those who argue, like Horace Mann did, that there are certain obligations we have in transmitting this knowledge of needed skills and this knowledge of our culture. They point to a lot of statistics, and Dr. Sanchez did it over lunch, and I'm not saying that he subscribes to Horace Mann's theory, but I think in the back of many people's mind it is there. You will often hear when dealing with Latino issues, there's a market out there. We need to tap that market. And so it's a marketplace we can exploit. We can increase our student enrollment by hooking these students and bringing them to us. There is indeed a market. There was a fascinating study done, and I want to credit the Title V grant that Morden and Governor State had. University of Notre Dame did a study on the state of Latino Chicago. And it's not the city of Chicago, it's metropolitan Chicago. So some of this is from there, but it helps to understand the framing of the problem as how do we recruit these people. Latino recruitment is seen as a marketing issue for many. Increasing enrollment, there's a boom there. There's been phenomenal growth, as we saw over lunch, in the Latino population. And this is the Chicagoland area alone. From 1970 to 2004, growth in the Latino population accounted for 96% of the total growth of the Chicagoland area. Now this is growth of other immigrants groups coming in. It's also the growth of childbirth, natural increases. 96% of the growth over the past 15 years, as in 2004, was Latino. Additionally, the age distribution of Latinos is ripe for plucking by institutions of higher education. So goes the argument. The median age of foreign-born Latinos is 33. I found this fascinating. The average age of non-Latino whites is 37, so they're fairly comparable. But U.S.-born Latinos, the average age is only 12. So that it's a phenomenal statistics there. It's a population that in 5 years from now, hopefully will be filling out college applications. There's a phenomenal impact on the labor force of the Latino population. The increase in the Latino population from 1970 to 2004 was almost equal to the increase of the number of jobs. And Dr. Sanchez over lunch showed that indeed population growth in Illinois will level off, maybe even decline. If you take out the Latino population, we will not be able to maintain the workforce we currently have, yet alone the workforce that we need to expand upon to meet increased demand in some way. Yet, the sad figure is only 53% of Latino students who enter 9th grade will graduate within 4 years. And again, they have one of the lowest rates of attrition from high school. Less than one-half as many Latinos graduate from college as whites. And again, this is overlooking the fact that there's very little enrollment beyond community colleges and higher education. So again, those who maintain Horace Mann's paradigm of let's serve the public by taking people who need to be educated with skills and enculturate them, there's another way of framing the issue. Not to see only the challenges, and there are challenges there. As Latinos come into the classroom, we need to be very sensitive to the needs that needs to be fulfilled so those students can be successful. And I'm not talking about necessarily educational needs, but a large percentage of the Latino population, students are from homes where there are multiple people working jobs. So it means that there are fewer people at home who can support them with homework and so on and so forth. There are all kinds of problems there. But I want to address instead the opportunities of this diversity. By bringing Latinos, by bringing African Americans, by bringing any immigrant group, by bringing a diversity of people into the classroom, there's an opportunity there that we don't fully recognize. So what I've argued up to this point is we have a 19th century sensibility of how to deal with a problem that dates back to Horace Mann.